Welcome! It's time for a deck profile. Here we are with my library Exodia deck. I was requested to do a deck profile of this deck by exclamation mark, exclamation mark, exclamation mark, Fire King, exclamation mark, exclamation mark, exclamation mark. You find out where the spaces are in between that. I made sure to write it down exactly so I actually have it correct in the title. Anyway, Fire King asked me to do a deck profile, so here it is. Obviously, it's Exodia, so the 5 Exodia pieces. The whole idea is that you get it in your hand. The rest of the deck is Royal Magical Library and a lot of spells that can get you to draw stuff. In Exodia, I do not need to explain. Now, Royal Magical Library is a very helpful card in this kind of deck. When it is face up, because otherwise its effect will not be active, and you activate a spell card, Royal Magical Library gains 1 spell counter. Once it has 3 spell counters, and by the way, it cannot hold more than 3. Once it has 3 spell counters, you can remove those 3 spell counters as a cost to draw 1 card. And drawing an extra card is very good because then you get more options to play with, and you have more chance to get Exodia in the end. Now, the whole idea is to make this a 1-turn kill. A first turn kill at that, because it should be your first turn. Unfortunately, this deck is quite consistent, but it is not completely consistent. Sometimes if you're lucky and you start with a good hand, then you can just first turn kill and it's easy. But sometimes I've had 2 or 3 turns in a row where I just didn't get good draws and I wasn't able to do very much. And I did draw into 1, sometimes 2 Royal Magical Libraries, and I had to defend them somehow. And I just drew into trade-ins and destiny draws without any of my level 8s and destiny heroes, for example. I could not do anything. That does happen sometimes with this deck, unfortunately. But for some people that is fortunate because it's a really annoying deck to play. Because, as some people call it, if you use this deck, you play with yourself. And not in any suggestive kind of way, obviously, but Yu-Gi-Oh! Is a game where you play against your opponent and have fun together. This deck, in all cases, you just play with yourself by drawing stuff and counters and more counters and discarding and playing a new spell and removing counters and drawing and playing another spell and drawing and playing another spell and searching and removing counters and drawing. The opponent doesn't even matter in your situation, for the most part. There is, however, 1 card that can stop Royal Magical Library in its tracks. Well, multiple. Well, 1 common card that can stop it is Effect Failure. Because Effect Failure stops it from getting the spell counters, and you cannot use the effect either to get your draws. So, if you that's something this deck will lose to. You normal summon Royal Magical Library so you can use the effect afterwards, but they drop Effect Failure, and then you're like, oh, dang it. But you can still keep going and drawing with your other cards, but the extra draw you get with Royal Magical Library after playing 3 spells each time does really help and help the consistency and help you get Exodia and the cards you want to draw to go get Exodia later. Royal Magical Library is good. There's a lot of different versions of Exodia. I know there's 1 other that uses Royal Magical Library, but this is my build. It's quite an old build, actually. I think almost half a year. But, yeah, let's go into the rest of the deck. I'm going to skip the first 2 spells for a moment. Let's go into the monsters first, actually. I have 2 Blue Eyes Toon Dragon. The reason I have these in my deck is because of these cards. Toon Table of Contents. Toon Table of Contents let you search for 1 Toon card or a manga Ryuran from your deck to your hand. And it says Toon card and not Toon monster. Since it says Toon card, Toon Table of Contents can search for itself, well, for another copy of Toon Table of Contents. Let's say you have Royal Magical Library on the field, then you play Toon Table of Contents, search for a second Toon Table, library has 1 counter. Use the second one to search for a third one, that's 2 counters. Use the third one to search for Blue Eyes Toon Dragon, that's 3 counters, and you get an extra draw. And besides that extra draw you got from Royal Magical Library, your deck was also thinned out by 3 cards, and that is also a good thing. And it's a spell that will always work. Like for trade-in and for Destiny draw, you need a level 8 or a Destiny hero in your hand. For this, you don't. You just need a Toon card in your deck, which there almost always is. Sometimes you do draw into Blue Eyes Toon Dragon, that's why I have a second in there, so you'll almost always be able to use the third Toon Table of Contents as well. And then once you have them in your hand, yeah, they're dead. No, they're not, because they're there to be used for trade-in, discarding on level 8 to draw 2 cards. And Blue Eyes Toon Dragon are both level 8 cards. I also have 1 copy of Destiny Hero Dreadmaster and then 3 Plasmas. The reason for these, well, it doesn't really matter which Destiny heroes you choose, as long as they're level 8. So I'm going to see how many level 8s there actually are, because I don't remember. Hey, you could technically also use Destiny Hero Dogma. When I built this deck, I just decided on Plasma and 1 Dratmaster. You can use Dogma if you want, it doesn't really matter. But 4 Destiny heroes. They can be used for Destiny Draw, which is currently, there's 2 copies of it in this deck. But I do believe that I built this deck when this card was still semi-limited. I cannot remember, because I don't even remember when it was semi-limited and when it came back to unlimited. But I know that in the next ban list, if it's true, then One Day of Peace will go to limited, making me have to change at least 2 cards in the deck. I might put in a 3rd Destiny draw. Might. Because I have only 4 Destiny heroes in this deck. And with 3 Destiny draws, that might be too often that I don't get the cards that I wanted. Well, with Destiny draw, I can get rid of one of these Destiny heroes and then draw 2 cards. Similar to trade-in, but you just need a specific Destiny hero. That's why Destiny heroes are there in like a bigger amount than the Blue Eyes Toon Dragon. And when the Destiny draws are done, I've used both of them, or there's Destiny heroes left in my hand that I cannot do anything with, I can still use them for trade-in. Or Allure of Darkness. Because with Allure of Darkness, you don't want to be forced to banish an Exodia piece. Royal Magical Library and Blue Eyes Toon Dragon are all light, so you're going to have to use one of these to banish. Then I have 2 copies of Broken Bamboo Sword. You really only need 1 for consistency reasons. I placed the second one. This, on its own, is one of, if not the most useless spell ever, because it doesn't do anything. It just equips the monster, and then the equipped monster gains 0 attack points. When I first saw this card, I was like, what in the world is this supposed to be? Well, the whole idea is you equip Broken Bamboo Sword to a monster so that you can play other spell cards with really good effects. There's 2, I believe. One of them is in this deck. There's something with a soul something evil bamboo sword, and then you have Golden Bamboo Sword. The entire effect of Golden Bamboo Sword is that it lets you draw 2 cards, which is pretty much Pot of Greed, which has been banned for quite some time. I'd have to look up when Pot of Greed was banned, actually. I'm not sure when it was first officially banned. But yeah, that's what Golden Bamboo Sword does. But if it would have been just that effect from Pot of Greed, it would have obviously been banned itself. It has a restriction, and that is that you can only use it if you control a Bamboo Sword equip spell card, which is Broken Bamboo Sword. It's an equip spell card. It doesn't help that monster or anything, but it's an equip spell card that you can equip to a monster. Now notice that it says if you control a Bamboo Sword equip spell card. It doesn't say that the Broken Bamboo Sword needs to be equipped to your monster. Usually, in this deck, I equip Broken Bamboo Sword to Royal Magical Library. It gains 1 counter, and, well, I just equip it to Royal Magical Library. because I like doing that to my own monsters. And then I can use Golden Bamboo Sword. But let's say you aren't very lucky and you don't draw into Royal Magical Library, then you can always equip Broken Bamboo Sword to the opponent's monster. Then you still control the face-up spell of Bamboo Sword equip spell yourself. So you can still use Golden Bamboo Sword. Then I have 3 copies of 1 Day of Peace. Both players draw 1 card. The important thing, of course, is that you yourself draw 1 card. And would you need to give the opponent the turn and then take it back yourself because you don't draw well, then 1 Day of Peace makes sure that no one takes damage until the end of the opponent's turn. That is very helpful. I had expected this card to be hit on the ban list. I really didn't know what would be hit on this ban list. Last format, I did have a good idea, and I predicted pretty well. I didn't get everything right, but I predicted pretty well on the September 2012 ban list. I really didn't know what the March 2013 ban list would do. But 1 Day of Peace, I did predict right. I wasn't really sure how it was going to be hit. I didn't think it would be banned, so it would be either limited or semi-limited, and it apparently is going to become limited. So then I'm gonna have to take these cards out and find something else to replace them with. I'll see what I'll do. I have 1 Pot of Duality. Obviously, it's a spell. Besides these monsters, everything is spells to help with the Royal Magical Library. You don't need traps because the entire idea is that it's a first turn kill. Pot of Duality looks at the top 3 cards of your deck, adds 1 of them to your hand, shuffles the rest back in your deck. Now I could replace 1 of the 1 Day of Pieces with a second Pot of Duality. Let you search more. But then look at the restriction on Pot of Duality. You can only activate 1 Pot of Duality per turn. If it's a first turn kill, then once you've used the first Pot of Duality, you cannot use the second one. You just can't. You need to wait until the next turn. So that is a reason that I might not want to use it. If it's a first turn kill, I just want to be able to keep on using my cards. Alright, now I'm going to go back to these 2 cards, a Feather of the Phoenix. It lets you discard 1 card, then target 1 card in your graveyard and return it to the top of your deck. In a way, this is a -2. And with -2, you lose card advantage. This card and another card from your hand. But I do like to use it. This is more helpful late game. And with that I mean after you've used a lot of spells already. The main idea is with this card, which I mostly use it with, the card discard is a second Royal Magical Library. Because I've summoned 1 already that turn, I cannot summon the second. So this card is kind of useless in my hand, so I discard it. And then from my graveyard I place on the top of my deck a card that can let me draw cards the easiest. Usually this is Golden Bamboo Sword, because as long as you have Broken Bamboo Sword on the field, it lets you draw 2 cards without any cost, without any further restrictions. So that is what I do. I do make sure that I have like a card like Upstart Goblin, 1 Day of Peace, or if necessary Royal Magical Library's effect to draw that card, because just placing it on top of my deck won't really cut it. So I need to make sure that I can actually draw that card again so I can get 2 more cards and another counter on the library to keep on going. I have 3 copies of Upstart Goblin to draw a card. In this deck you don't care about the opponent's life points. They can have whatever they want. They can have like the maximum of 99999 or infinity. You don't really care because once again you're playing with yourself and you want to draw the cards. And as long as you draw cards, you don't care what the opponent has. And it's a spell, so it thins out your deck and it gets a counter from the library. And then finally I have 3 copies of Magical Mallet to help this deck become more consistent. It's a -1 in a way, yes. It does give library a counter, however. But it does happen quite often that you don't really get the cards that you want. Let's say you get 2 Exodia pieces, a Golden Bamboo Sword, Feather, Allure, and Trade-in your first hand. No, I mean, let's say instead of a Trade-in you get Magical Mallet. With just those cards you cannot do anything really. Then you use Magical Mallet. you have the choice. Either you shuffle everything in and just draw 5 new and hope you get something good. What I do normally is always shuffle the Exodia pieces back in. Now this may seem counterproductive since you want to draw the Exodia pieces, but the chances of drawing it immediately, like in your next draw, aren't that big. And as long as you get some good spells, you can just keep drawing until your deck is 0 and you have all the pieces again. You want the consistency, so almost always, I remember one occasion when I didn't, but almost always I just shuffle the cards back in, especially the Exodia pieces, and then draw. I remember that in one of my duel videos with Library Exodia, I shuffled the Exodia pieces back in, but I kept a golden bamboo sword in my hand and a trade-in, I believe, because I knew there were 1 Toon Dragon and 2 Destiny Heroes left in my deck, and both Broken Bamboo Swords were also in my deck, so I was hoping that I would get 1 Broken Bamboo Sword and then 1 level 8 to keep this stuff going. It was, in a way, a risk that I took, but it worked out. But it's Magical Mall that is there for consistency. On my side deck, I have some cards that I thought that I might put in my deck. Dreadmaster for more Destiny draw and trade-in. I might just put in another Dreadmaster and a 3rd Destiny draw when one day piece is gone. I might do that. A 3rd Feather with the Phoenix, but I feel that 2 is fun. A 3rd Broken Bamboo Sword. Once again, I think 2 is fine. Level Limit Area B to stop the opponent. And it also puts Library in defense to save you from some damage. But one day piece usually covers you on that. Would you need the opponent to get a turn? Monster Reborn to reborn Library or get one of the opponent's monsters. Haven't actually used it ever. Potted Duality, I just discussed that. And then Swords to stop the opponents. But yeah, you want it to be first turn kill to keep on drawing, so the drawing cards in your deck are the cards that you want. In the extra deck, I just have 1 Flame Ghost. I really do not know why. But yeah, if you don't have an extra deck, or if you don't have an extra deck of 15, then people are just gonna look at you weird. So I'm just gonna throw in this, because if you don't have an extra deck, then yeah, people will likely expect that either you're a noob that doesn't use them, or I don't know, yeah, you're a noob that doesn't use your extra deck at all, or you don't really know what it does at all, or you're using like Exodia that never makes use of the extra deck. I know that in my Heart of Exodia deck, I do have an extra deck with a lot of rank 4 monsters, and that is because I barely ever use Xyz monsters in there, but I do have the chance because most of my monsters are level 4. In this, you don't ever use the extra deck, but just to fool the opponents, like just for a moment even, I've thrown in an extra deck of 15, as you can see here. Alright guys, this was the Library Exodia deck profile. Fire King, I hope you enjoyed this and that it helped you in a way to understand the deck. Feel free to use it yourself, see what you think of it. And if you have any suggestions of what to replace One Day of Peace by, please leave them in the comments below. I'll probably go with Dreadmaster and a 3rd Destiny draw. That's what I'm thinking of right now. And then I'll just see if that works, and if it doesn't, well then I'll do something else. But yeah, I'm going to see you guys later. Bye bye.